All right. Our next artist tonight is Leslie McCarron. A little bit about Leslie. Though Leslie McCarron was trained in several different art mediums, she prefers painting in oil using bright, bold colors. Leslie typically paints from life with an emphasis on florals, glass, fruits, and vegetables. She also enjoys going outdoors to paint plein air or to take photos for future painting reference. Leslie's paintings have a loose, modern feel. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Oh, I see you have an array of your work behind you. That's fantastic.
Yes, as people that follow me know, my studio can sometimes overflow into the dining room. So that's what's happened here. And I went ahead and just set it up and put them on display, and we'll be demoing the one directly behind my head, trying to finish that up this weekend for people.
Great. So will you be doing that over the live stream?
Yes, I will.
And why don't you go ahead and remind our audience when that will be happening so they can tune in?
Okay, that's tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, the 19th and 20th from 1 to 4, and I will be live streaming on Facebook. And I created an event, you can go to the artist directory, and I've put a link in there that will take you directly there between 1 and 4. I don't expect anybody to watch the whole time, but if you want to, you can.
That's wonderful. So I think this is a great lead in to just describe your artistic process and how you are setting up what you're painting
Okay, well, back in the corner there, or somewhere, if I can point, you can see a light box, and I have put in there a few of the glass vases that I like to paint, as well as on the table right behind me, some of the vases that I use. But primarily what really motivates me and what gets me excited is nature and color. I'm really a colorist, as you can see by the works behind me. And I don't like to paint literally. I like to paint what I see, but how it makes me feel, really. It's what I'm feeling from what I'm seeing that I paint. So I like to do setups for my still lifes. So I don't, and I'll work from photos too, but those are references after perhaps the still life has died. Flowers don't last forever, nor does vegetables and fruits. Sometimes they've gotten a little shrivelly and lost their petals, but that's one of the main reasons, or one of the main ways that I like to paint is from life.
So how is that when you're actually in nature doing that? For those who haven't gone out to actually do something out in the open,
that's very different. The plein air is very, very different because you're having to set up and the light changes. So that is a very different experience. And what I typically do, I do some plein air, but you can't get too large with plein air because of the changing light, the changing scenery. So often I'll do a little study, take photos, and then I can bring it home and make it bigger, like the sunflowers behind me. So that is how I do the outdoor or landscape type paintings. The inside, I'm in control much more. I have control of the light, and they can sit there for a few days while I paint them.
That's a very good description, and I admire the fact that you like to work out in the open, because I think it's a difficult task. You really have to be so incredibly focused on what you're creating. Yeah.
Yes.
And I was super curious about, when I was looking at your website earlier and looking at your paintings and all the different vases that you have. So do you actively collect glassware to sort of assemble into your still lifes?
I do. So if you can see behind me, there's a few of the vases that I have. And then if you look at the painting directly behind, you will recognize some of those vases. I will change the size. Sometimes I will change the shape a bit, but they're my inspiration. The painting that is at the KVIE auction right now that I did win a curator's award for has the yellow vase, the orange vase, blue vases, striped vases, clear glass vases. Yes, those are my muses.
I love
but
that.
I do take artistic liberties with them.
Great. So what else would you say influences or inspires you in your work?
I love oil paint. And what I love about oil paint is that it's also very sculptural in nature. You can apply it thickly with a brush, with a palette knife. You can apply it very thin. It can, with the medium, it can run down. The close-up on the sunflowers will show that in parts, and then it will show it really thick. You can scrape it away. It's the closest to sculptural work I think you can achieve from painting. And so I like all of those different options, and it depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm a brush painter. Sometimes I'm a palette knife painter. Sometimes I scrape. Sometimes I scrape into it. It depends, really.
So would you say that do you plan much before you start a painting in that regard, or is it really spontaneous when you're in the moment?
It's both.
Mm-hmm.
It's both. I have to have an idea of what I'm going to paint. And in that respect, I have to set up my still life, or I have to go outdoors, have to, have an idea of what I'm going to paint. But then once I get into it, it's really dependent upon what happens. Sometimes the painting literally will paint itself, it seems. It's like, how did that happen? Other times it's a struggle. I may scrape the whole thing off. I may walk away for a day or two and then come back and decide, I think I can salvage that. Like the one behind me. That one has been scraped and reworked, and I'm feeling inspired again to go into it. That was a pre-COVID start. And the COVID, to be honest with you, kind of my creativity for a while, but I can't not paint. So I need that creative, whatever you want to call it, that we artists have.
That you have. I want to go back for a second and have you talk a little bit more about your color choices, because they feel very connected to emotion.
Yes.
And so just to sort of elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, well, the colors, there again, I love color. And so red is one of my most favorite colors, but I haven't, and there's some red paintings back there, as you can see. But I veered away for a while and did more of the, complementary. And then the other one right up there, this was somewhat of a departure for me because the background is very gray and muted, and the vases are very soft and muted. The flowers pop. So you've got those colors in there, all the colors, purples and yellow. It's just an intuitive kind of thing. I don't think too much about it unless I'm looking at it and I go, something's not working here. Then I'll pull out the color wheel and go, and then maybe, use that as a way to get me going in another direction.
That's wonderful. Yeah, because it is definitely your color combinations that sort of pop out at first, and then you begin to sort of absorb what we're looking at as well.
Right.
So where is the best place for everyone to look at your work right now?
Well, always online. I've always got work online, and my prices are online. You can buy the art online. I have a shopping cart. They make it very easy for you. And right now, as I mentioned, I won a Curator's Award at KVIE. So I have a piece there. And then Archival Gallery represents me. And they have several of my pieces down there right now, some smaller pieces. And then in March, I will be headlining the show at Archival Gallery, and it will be my first solo show. I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
And thank you. I mean, it was very emotional when they approached me about it. So, and the pieces will be bigger. And the theme, I haven't talked to Dee about it yet, but I'm playing with the idea of beauty from dirt. Oh. Because that's kind of provocative, just the sound of it. But the reality is, what I love to paint, most of it comes from earth, dirt. So I'll have big landscapes, I'll have the florals, etc. And that's in March of next year.
Okay, so you have some time, because I was like, wow, that's a big theme to tackle, and it's going to be all new work that you're creating.
Yes, yes. I counted on my fingers silently when we were talking to see exactly how many months, 5 months. I am used to working well under deadlines. For the last 4 years, I painted a painting a day in January and had to post it on social media. So I will be working on the show in March instead of painting and painting. Well, I will be painting every day. It just won't be one painting.
One painting.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many paintings are you hoping to have for the exhibition?
Between 8 and 12.
Okay.
I have probably at least 5 in different stages of development right now that have some paint already that I've moved around on the ground. But the bigger ones, and I have ideas. So I'm looking forward to starting that as soon as Open Studio's over, to be honest with you. That's my next
You are about to
focus. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So when you're talking about larger scale, just to give everyone a sense of what do you feel you've been working on, previously and currently, and then this new work, how will that be bigger? What's the scale?
Well, the 31 days have typically, they started out, I did a couple shows at the Kennedy Gallery where we did the 8x8s. So I was familiar with the smaller 8x8s, 10x10s, 9x12s, etc. For this year's 31 days, I did go bigger, and I did some 20x20s, 18x24s. The ones behind you, that one behind me is a 20x30, as is that one there. That's a 24x24. I'll probably be going 4 feet by 3 feet, maybe even larger on some of them. So, and the one at the KVIE auction is my largest to date so far at a 3 foot by 4 foot.
That's impressive.
So I can do it.
Yes. You have set a big task for yourself.
I have.
But it's exciting to challenge yourself in that way.
Yes, yes.
Excellent. So any last sort of things you'd like to share tonight and make sure our audience knows about your work? And
yeah, let me look. I was just, I thought we'd be done. I thought, wow, okay, good. 15 minutes is done, but I guess it's not. A couple more minutes.
4 minutes to speak in some things.
Yeah. Well, for example, a couple of those paintings in the back are fruit from my dad's fruit trees. And they're called Dad's Summer Fruit. And they're some plums and pears. The pear tree has since, it didn't survive this last year. And my dad, he's been gone now for 3 years. But he had probably 15 to 20 fruit trees on his property. And we used to joke that, Dad, you love those fruit trees more than us kids. I can tell the way you're speaking about them. And he would laugh. We just recently sold the house, and the people that bought it were very interested in all the trees. So it was a very nice, heartwarming way to hand over that legacy. So there's a painting down at Archival right now that's called Mother's Favorite Flowers, and they're Black-Eyed Susans. And they're in a vase that has 3 numbers on it, and those numbers are significant in terms of my mom. And so I do at times put that sentimental touch into my work. So there's a lot of emotion that goes into my work. It's just more subtle. And I guess I love to paint shadows because I've always been interested in shadows. And I feel in a way that we all have a shadow side to us, that there's that mysteriousness to us. So I like to include shadows in my still lifes, or even when I'm doing my landscape paintings. Because what's the story in the shadows? There could be a whole other story happening there in addition to the actual subject. So I have a lot of those kinds of things going on, but I am probably most interested in what the viewer sees and feels in my painting, more so than what I'm trying to convey to the viewer. I feel that art is very subjective. It's very personal. And I want a connection from the viewer that is their own.
Yeah.
I think that's the power of art. I mean, everybody makes a different kind of art. I'm very drawn to personally abstract as well. And maybe I'll venture into that territory at some time. But for me, it's painting what's in front of me and then putting into it something unique. But what the viewer sees, what the viewer feels, that's entirely up to them.
Excellent. Well, I hope that people will take part in your wonderful live Facebook presentation this weekend.
Thank you.
I hope that I get a chance to tune in. I want to see how the
good.
painting evolves.
Good.
Okay, so thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, really. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
You too. Thanks.